Hello everyone, I hope we're all having a great day. When we start watching this video, we're going to be learning about simple machines today, or kind of reviewing simple machines. So, our questions is, what's the first word that you think of when you hear simple machines? I feel like you guys have learned about simple machines before, but I'm curious if that word, or those words, spark anything. What do you think when you hear simple machines? Also, how does using a wheelbarrow make it easy to move things? So a wheelbarrow is a great example of a few simple machines working together. So, but how does it work? How does it work? What makes having a wheelbarrow nice? It helps make something heavy easier to move because we have a wheel. It also helps because we have a lever, which we're going to talk about both of those simple machines today. So our objectives is we want to be able to list our 6 simple machines, and then we also want to be able to give an example of each type by the end of today. So we have a fun video, only 3 minutes long, that explains our 6 basic types, but what we're going to work on today, or I want you guys to watch that video on your own, but what I'm going to go through with you today is that our simple machines help reduce the amount of work we need to do. So work is the amount of energy it takes to do something. So a lot of the times we say, ooh, I have a lot of work to do. So maybe that's I have to do a lot of chores, or maybe I have to do a lot of homework, but I have a lot of work, and it always takes energy to do work. So our simple machines make our jobs easier. It makes our work easier. They're used in everyday life, and they have been for not millions, sorry, thousands of years. Thousands of years. So we have 6 simple machines. That's the other thing. Our 6 simple machines are a pulley, a lever, a wheel and axle, a wedge, an inclined plane, and a screw. And we're going to go through each one of those now and explain what they are and how they work. So the first one is an inclined plane. Number 1, inclined plane. It raises an object by moving up a slope. A slope is just kind of any board. A lot of people use boards. We could use a concrete ramp. A slope is just kind of any incline. So it takes less work this way by moving a little bit at a time rather than all at once. For example, if I had this big barrel and I had to put it in this truck, it would take a lot of energy for me to pick it up and put the barrel in the back of it. But if I were to take it and go up this ramp, it would be like doing a little bit of work over a longer period, over a longer time. So it's the same amount of work in total, but this time it's just a little bit at a time rather than doing it all at once. Yep, so that's what I said. So we have lots of examples of these. For example, we see down here, this picture is a little bit small, but we have someone in a wheelchair going up a ramp onto a bus. We have someone loading a bunch of boxes into a truck. We can see these as slides, or maybe you guys play with them and put your cars on them and let them roll down, or maybe your little siblings do. But they were also very important when we were building the pyramids. So way, way long ago, the Egyptians used these long ramps, long inclined planes to move all of their bricks all the way to the top of the pyramids. And then when they were done, they just got rid or destroyed their inclined plane. But that's how they were able to carry things all the way to the very top of their pyramid, is they put these long inclined planes almost like this one, or kind of around each side like this. So it's just an interesting thing. Our second simple machine is a wedge. So a wedge is a device that forces things apart. It's like having 2 inclined planes put together, so it's a little bit wider, and it transfers our force outward. So if I were to hit this simple machine, this wedge down with this hammer, it would transfer the force from the top going down to it going out to either side. And our best example of this is when we're chopping wood, or when we're breaking wood. Maybe you guys have done this before. to help make a fire at home, where we have to put an axe through a piece of wood, and by doing that it splits the wood in half. So we can kind of break our wood into two pieces. So again, all examples are an axe, but some other examples that are very common is a knife, a nail, a needle. We see some more knives. A wedge may be used to stop a door. A shovel or scissors have wedges on them. So really, anytime there's something sharp, anytime we're used to cut something with a knife, with scissors, or an axe, a shovel, that we're using a wedge. Our simple machine that we're using is a wedge to complete that, to get that to be done. So we can use them in a lot of different ways. A lot of different wedges. Our third simple machine is a screw. So a screw is a device that can lift or hold things together. So it can either lift stuff up or it can be used to kind of put things together. So when I think of a screw, I think of an inclined plane wrapped around a cylinder. So we can see that if we were to look at this, it's kind of like an inclined plane going all the way up to the top. And we can see this nice picture here shows us that it's kind of wrapped around that way. And then when I think of them being used to put things together, I think of wood. And maybe you guys have used a screw to make some kind of wood project. You put two pieces of wood together with a screw to hold them together. But they also can be used to move things. So let's look at some examples of screws that are used to in a lot of different ways. I like this first example is a bottle cap. So anytime we unscrew our lid on a water bottle, it's a screw. We even use it as a verb sometimes, to screw something on or to unscrew something. We can see it. This is what's called an auger. It uses a screw to drill a hole in the dirt. So you would put this machine on the dirt and it would turn around and go into the ground and take the dirt up. We have our screw, of course. Maybe you guys have seen these gumball machines that you put in some money and then a gumball goes around the screw and moves the gumball all the way to the bottom. Maybe a slide that's kind of like a circle, like a screw. A light bulb. If you've ever had to put a light bulb in, you have to turn it, and that's because there's a screw. So there we see screws all around us. There's lots of different examples, but here are just some of them. My favorite being our bottle cap. We always screw something on our water bottles. So we have a wheel and axle now. So our number 4th simple machine is a wheel and axle. We see these a lot, and this is a device that's used to reduce or to limit or take away our friction. So we're trying to make our friction force, which we've learned about, smaller, and by doing that we can use a wheel and axle. So the way this works is we have kind of like a stick in the center of a wheel, which allow things to roll easier. So that stick is called an axle, and then we have a wheel that goes around it, and that allows it to roll. And it reduces our friction by having an object on top of it. So let's go look at some examples to see how this works. So my favorite examples are in a car. You don't even have one. We can see it, a steering wheel here, but we have cars. I should have put a picture of a car up here, where we have a wheel and axle to move our cars. Our cars have 4 wheels and 2 axles each, and so it reduces our friction because it rolls very nicely. Some other examples are, this is what is called a water wheel. So water will run along and fall and turn this big wheel, and this axle is in the middle. We can see a doorknob. Our axle's in the center, and our doorknob will turn left or right, or twist. We can see this in gears. We can see this even in maybe a well, a water well, or sometimes we can even see it in screwdrivers. So we can put a screwdriver on and twist it, our wheel being in the center, or on the outside, sorry, our axle being in the center. So lots of different examples. Number 5, our fifth one is a lever. So we have a lever, which is a pole which uses a pivot or a fulcrum to make an object easier to move. So this makes it much easier to move a heavier object with a longer lever. So the longer the lever, the less effort we need to put on our lever to get the heavy object to move, or our load. So we do this by having what's called either a fulcrum. I like the word pivot. They mean the same thing. And that's just this kind of little triangle in the middle. So my favorite example of this is a seesaw. So you guys have seen seesaws at school, on the playground we have seesaws, but we can also see levers in all sorts of things. We have levers in our scissors. Our levers are in the back here. We have levers in a hammer when we're trying to pull out a nail. This would be our pivot, and we would be pulling against this force. We even have it in a broom. Anything that's long or a shovel can be used as a lever. We have even in our arms. So there's lots of examples. I have this really cool video of someone lifting a whole car just by using a simple lever that they made out of wood. So we're going to skip ahead because I just want to see. So he's going to start really close. The car isn't lifted. As he moves his weight farther away on the lever, he's going to lift the car. We can see his pivot or his fulcrum right here, and he can simply, with only the weight of his body, start to lift. Look at that. So just a quick little example of the cool things that levers can do. All right, our last one that we have is a pulley. So a pulley is a wheel and rope used to lift objects. So a pulley changes the direction a force is applied. We can see this. Our force on this big load would be the force of gravity that we're trying to overcome. Gravity is wanting to pull it down. And so theoretically, we would have to push it up to go in the opposite direction of gravity. But this pulley allows us to put an applied force kind of sideways, and then it goes around the pulley so that we can lift at a different angle that may be a little bit easier for us to do. It's made of a wheel and a shaft and a rope, a pretty simple design. And a cool example is right here. We have a science teacher who sets up a bunch of pulleys to try to lift their principal. So let's see how many students it takes. There's one part I want to get to. So because of this pulley system, we only need, looks like, 2 students to very easily lift their teacher. Whereas if they tried to do this normally, it would probably take a lot to lift their principal. So I'll link this full video if you guys want to watch it. I just wanted to show you guys that quick part right now, though. But just a quick summary of what we've learned. We have 6 different simple machines. We have an inclined plane, a wedge, a screw, a wheel, a lever, and a pulley. And each one of those are used to reduce the amount of work or the amount of energy we need to do something. So that's just a quick introduction. I hope that made sense. And as always, if you guys have questions, please let me know.